Next Level Soul Publishing presents The Human Aura, Astral Colors and Thought Forms by Swami Panchadasi. Read by William Sterling. Introduction. The Symphony of Your Radiant Self. Pause for a moment and consider the simple miracle of light. It reveals the world, transforms the mundane into the extraordinary, and gives every living thing its color, depth, and warmth. Yet, as luminous as the world outside may seem, there is a subtler, more profound radiance emanating from within you. A radiance that cannot be seen by ordinary sight, but is as much a part of you as your breath or your beating heart. This radiance is the human aura, the ethereal field that surrounds you, whispers the truth of your being, and reflects the interplay of your thoughts, emotions, and spirit. The aura is not a mere philosophical construct or poetic fancy. It is an ancient truth, deeply rooted in spiritual traditions and the esoteric sciences of both East and West. For ages, mystics, sages, and seekers have observed this radiant field, describing its egg-like shape, its shifting colors, and its undeniable connection to the thoughts we think and the lives we lead. In The Human Aura, Astral Colors and Thought Forms, Swami Panchadasi invites us to step into this timeless understanding, unveiling the secrets of this luminous aspect of our existence and guiding us toward mastery of its mysteries. To understand the aura is to uncover a profound truth about yourself, that you are not confined to the physical body, that your presence extends far beyond what the eyes can see. The aura is your psychic fingerprint, a dynamic expression of who you are at any given moment. It reveals the state of your health, the quality of your emotions, the nature of your thoughts, and even the purity of your spirit. It is the bridge between your inner world and the universe around you, a symphony of light and vibration, ever-changing yet deeply tied to the core of your being. In this masterwork, Swami Panchadasi takes us on a comprehensive journey through the many dimensions of the aura. He explains how prana, the life force, forms the foundation of this energy field, and how its colors are shaped by our mental and emotional states. He unveils the rich tapestry of astral colors, each corresponding to specific thoughts, feelings, and spiritual vibrations, and shows how these colors can serve as tools for healing, self-discovery, and protection. Through the lens of the aura, even the intangible becomes tangible. Our thoughts, often fleeting and invisible, are revealed as powerful forces that shape not only ourselves, but also the world around us. The Next Level Soul edition of this classic text elevates the journey even further. With added chapter summaries, key insights, and practical action steps, this edition transforms ancient wisdom into a living, breathing guide for modern life. It is one thing to read about the beauty and power of the aura. It is another to experience it, to cultivate its radiance, and to wield it as a tool for your growth and transformation. Each chapter equips you with actionable techniques to cleanse, strengthen, and protect your aura, allowing you to consciously align your energy field with your highest aspirations. Consider this not merely a book, but a guide, a roadmap to a more luminous way of being. Here, you will learn how to perceive and interpret your own aura and that of others, how to use color to heal and inspire, and how to create a protective field of energy that shields you from negativity and harm. You will discover that the aura is not a static entity, but a living force that you can shape and direct through the power of intention, thought, and spiritual practice. But this exploration is not limited to the self alone. As you deepen your understanding of the aura, you will come to see it as a microcosm of the universe itself. The subtle vibrations of your personal energy field resonate with the larger energies of the cosmos, reflecting the interconnectedness of all things. The hues and shades that dance within your aura are but echoes of the great cosmic light that flows through every soul. To work with the aura is to step into this flow, to align yourself with the rhythms of the universe, and to embrace your place within the grand design of existence. Swami Panchadasi's teachings remind us that the aura is not merely an accessory to our being, it is an integral part of who we are. Just as a flame cannot exist without its glow, so too can we not exist without the subtle radiance of our aura. It is the energy of our thoughts, the essence of our emotions, and the spirit of our intentions made manifest. To understand and cultivate the aura is to take responsibility for the energy we emit, to recognize the impact we have on others, and to awaken to the boundless potential within us. As you embark on this journey through the pages of the human aura, I invite you to do so with an open heart and a curious mind. Approach this exploration not as a detached observer, but as an active participant. Practice the exercises, contemplate the teachings, and allow the insights to infuse your daily life. With patience and perseverance, you will come to see yourself not merely as a body or even a mind, but as a radiant being of light, a soul with the power to create, to heal, and to transform. May this journey awaken you to the light that you are. May it guide you to a deeper understanding of your place in the universe and empower you to walk your path with clarity, strength, and grace. The symphony of your radiant self awaits. Listen closely and let it lead you home. Chapter 1. What is the human aura? The above question is frequently asked the student of occultism by someone who has heard the term but who is unfamiliar with its meaning. Simple as the question may seem, it is by no means easy to answer it, plainly and clearly in a few words, unless the hearer already has a general acquaintance with the subject of occult science. Let us commence at the beginning and consider the question from the point of view of the person who has just heard the term for the first time. The dictionaries define the word aura as any subtle, invisible emanation or exhalation. The English authorities, as a rule, attribute the origin of the word to a Latin term meaning air, but the Hindu authorities insist that it had its origin in the Sanskrit root ar, meaning the spoke of a wheel, the significance being perceived when we remember the fact that the human aura radiates from the body of the individual in a manner similar to the radiation of the spokes of a wheel from the hub thereof. The Sanskrit origin of the term is the one preferred by occultists, although it will be seen that the idea of an aerial emanation, indicated by the Latin root, is not foreign to the real significance of the term. Be the real origin of the term what it may, the idea of the human aura is one upon which all occultists are in full agreement and harmony, and the mention of which is found in all works upon the general subject of occultism. So, we shall begin by a consideration of the main conception thereof, as held by all advanced occultists, ancient and modern, omitting little points of theoretical variance between the different schools. Briefly, then, the human aura may be described as a fine, ethereal radiation or emanation surrounding each living human being. It extends from 2 to 3 feet, in all directions, from the body. It assumes an oval shape, a great egg-shaped nebula surrounding the body on all sides for a distance of 2 or 3 feet. This aura is sometimes referred to, in ordinary terms, as the psychic atmosphere of a person, or as his magnetic atmosphere. This atmosphere or aura is apparent to a large percentage of persons in the sense of the psychic awareness generally called feeling, though the term is not a clear one. The majority of persons are more or less aware of that subtle something about the personality of others, which can be sensed or felt in a clear, though unusual way, when the other persons are nearby, even though they may be out of the range of the vision. Being outside of the ordinary range of the five senses, we are apt to feel that there is something queer or uncanny about these feelings of projected personality. But every person, deep in his heart, knows them to be realities and admits their effect upon his impressions regarding the persons from whom they emanate. Even small children, infants even, perceive this influence and respond to it in the matter of likes and dislikes. But human testimony regarding the existence and character of the human aura does not stop with the reports of the psychic senses to which we have just referred. There are many individuals of the race, a far greater percentage than is generally imagined, who have the gift of psychic sight more or less developed. Many persons have quite a well-developed power of this kind, who do not mention it to their acquaintances for fear of ridicule or of being thought queer. In addition to these persons, there are here and there to be found well-developed, clear-sighted, or truly clairvoyant persons, whose powers of psychic perception are as highly developed as are the ordinary senses of the average individual. And the reports of these persons, far apart in time and space though they may be, have always agreed on the main points of psychic phenomena, particularly regarding the human aura. To the highly developed clairvoyant vision, every human being is seen as surrounded by the egg-shaped aura of 2 or 3 feet in depth, denser and thicker in the portion nearest the body, and then gradually becoming more tenuous, thin and indistinct as the distance from the body is increased. By the psychic perception, the aura is seen as a luminous cloud, a phosphorescent flame, deep and dense around the center, and then gradually shading into indistinctness toward the edges. As a matter of fact, as all developed occultists know, the aura really extends very much further than even the best clairvoyant vision can perceive it, and its psychic influence is perceptible at quite a distance in many cases. In this respect, it is like any flame on the physical plane. It gradually fades into indistinctness, its rays persisting far beyond the reach of the vision, as may be proved by means of chemical apparatus, etc. To the highly developed clairvoyant vision, the human aura is seen to be composed of all the colors of the spectrum, the combinations of colors differing in various persons, and constantly shifting in the case of every person. These colors reflect the mental, particularly the emotional states of the person in whose aura they are manifested. Each mental state has its own combination, formed from the few elementary colors which represent the elementary mental conditions. As the mind is ever shifting and changing its states, it follows that there will ever be a corresponding series of shifting changes in the colors of the human aura. The shades and colors of the aura present an ever-changing kaleidoscopic spectacle of wonderful beauty and most interesting character. The trained occultist can read the character of any person, as well as the nature of his passing thoughts and feelings, by simply studying the shifting colors of his aura. To the developed occultist, the mind and character become as an open book, to be studied carefully and intelligently. Even the student of occultism, who has not been able to develop the clairvoyant vision to such a high degree, is soon able to develop the sense of psychic perception whereby he is able to at least feel the vibrations of the aura, though he may not see the colors, and thus be able to interpret the mental states which have caused them. The principle is, of course, the same, as the colors are but the outward appearance of the vibrations themselves, just as the ordinary colors on the physical plane are merely the outward manifestation of vibration of matter. But it must not be supposed that the human aura is always perceived in the appearance of a luminous cloud of ever-changing color. When we say that such is its characteristic appearance, we mean it in the same sense that we describe the ocean as a calm, deep body of greenish waters. We know, however, that at times the ocean presents no such appearance, but, instead, is seen as rising in great mountainous waves, white-capped, and threatening the tiny vessels of men with its power. Or again, we may define the word flame in the sense of a steady, bright stream of burning gas, whereas we know only too well that the word also indicates the great hot tongues of fiery force that stream out from the windows of a burning building and lick to destruction all with which it comes in contact. So, it is with the human aura. At times it may be seen as a beautiful, calm, luminous atmosphere, presenting the appearance of a great opal under the rays of the sun. Again, it blazes like the flames of a great furnace, shooting forth great tongues of fire in this direction and that, rising and falling in great waves of emotional excitement, or passion, or perhaps whirling like a great fiery maelstrom toward its center, or swirling in an outward movement away from its center. Again, it may be seen as projecting from its depths smaller bodies or centers of mental vibration, which like sparks from a furnace detach themselves from the parent flame and travel far away in other directions. These are the projected thought forms of which all occultists are fond of speaking, and which make plain many strange psychic occurrences. So, it will be seen, the human aura is a very important and interesting phase of the personality of every individual. The psychic phase of man is as much the man himself as is the physical phase, the complete man being made up of the two phases. Man, invisible, is as much the real man as is man visible. As the finer forms of nature are always the most powerful, so is the psychic man more potent than the physical man. In this book, I speak of the human aura and its colors as being perceived by astral or clairvoyant vision, for this is the way in which it is perceived and studied by the occultist. The occult teaching is that, in the evolution of the race, this astral vision will eventually become the common property of every human being. It so exists even now, and needs only development to perfect it. But modern physical science is today offering corroborative proof, though the same is not needed by the occultist who has the astral vision, to the general public, of the existence of the human aura. In Europe especially, a number of scientists have written on the subject of the aura, and have described the result of the experiments in which the aura has been perceived, and even photographed, by means of fluorescent screens, such as are used in taking X-ray photographs, etc. Leading authorities in England, France, and still more recently in Germany have reported the discovery of a nebulous, hazy, radioactive energy or substance around the body of human beings. In short, they now claim that every human being is radioactive, and that the auric radiation may be registered and perceived by means of a screen composed of certain fluorescent material, interposed between the eye of the observer and the person observed. This aura, so discovered by the scientists, is called by them the human atmosphere, and is classified by them as like the radiations of other radioactive substances, radium, for instance. They have failed to discover color in this atmosphere, however, and know nothing, apparently, of the relation between auric colors and mental and emotional states, which are so familiar to every advanced occultist. I mention this fact merely as a matter of general interest and information to the student, and not as indicating, even in the slightest degree, any idea on my part that the old occult teaching and the observed phenomena accompanying the same, regarding the human aura, require any proof or backing up on the part of material scientists. On the contrary, I feel that material science should feel flattered by the backing up by occult science of the new discovery of the human atmosphere. A little later, material science may also discover the auric colors and announce the same to the wondering world as a new truth. Summary. The human aura is a subtle, egg-shaped field of energy that radiates around every living being. It reflects our physical health, emotional state, and spiritual essence. While often sensed intuitively, advanced clairvoyants perceive it as luminous colors, shifting with our thoughts and emotions. Key takeaways. The aura is a dynamic, luminous field that extends 2 to 3 feet from the body. Its colors shift based on mental, emotional, and spiritual states. The aura acts as a psychic atmosphere that others can intuitively sense. Action items. Reflect on how your thoughts and emotions might influence your energetic field. Practice tuning into the psychic atmosphere of people and places you encounter. Journal moments where you intuitively sense someone's emotional state before they speak. Chapter 2. The Prana Aura. Many writers about the human aura content themselves with a description of the colors of the mental or emotional aura and omit almost any reference whatsoever to the basic substance or power of the aura. This is like the play of Hamlet, with the character of Hamlet omitted, for unless we understand something concerning the fundamental substance of which the aura is composed, we cannot expect to arrive at a clear understanding of the phenomena which arises from and by reason of the existence of this fundamental substance. We might as well expect a student to understand the principles of color without having been made acquainted with the principles of light. The fundamental substance of which the human aura is composed is none other than that wonderful principle of nature, of which one reads so much in all occult writings, which has been called by many names, but which is perhaps best known under the Sanskrit term prana, but which may be thought of as vital essence, life power, etc. It is not necessary in this book to go into the general consideration of the nature and character of prana. It is sufficient for us to consider it in its manifestation of vital force, life essence, etc. In its broadest sense, prana really is the principle of energy in nature. But in its relation to living forms, it is the vital force which lies at the very basis of manifested life. It exists in all forms of living things, from the most minute microscopic form up to living creatures on higher planes, as much higher than man as man is higher than the simple microscopic life forms. It permeates them all and renders possible all life activity and functioning. Prana is not the mind or the soul, but is rather the force or energy through which the soul manifests activity, and the mind manifests thought. It is the steam that runs the physical and mental machinery of life. It is the substance of the human aura, and the colors of mental states are manifested in that substance, just as the colors of chemical bodies are manifested in the substance of water. But prana is not material substance. It is higher than mere matter, being the underlying substance of energy or force in nature. While it is true, as we have seen, that all auras are composed of the substance of prana, it is likewise true that there is a simple and elementary form of auric substance to which occultists have given the simple name of the prana aura, in order to distinguish it from the more complex forms and phases of the human aura. The simplicity of the character of the prana aura causes it to be more readily sensed or perceived than is possible in the case of the more complex phases or forms of the aura. For whereas it is only the more sensitive organisms that can distinguish the finer vibrations of the mental and emotional aura, and only the clairvoyant sight, which can discern its presence by its colors, almost any person, by a little careful experimenting, may become aware of the presence of the prana aura, not only in the way of feeling it, but in many cases of actually seeing it with the ordinary vision rightly directed. That which is known as the prana aura is of course the simplest form or phase of the human aura. It is the form or phase which is more closely bound up with the physical body and is less concerned with the mental states. This fact has caused some writers to speak of it as the health aura or physical aura, both of which terms are fittingly applied as we shall see, although we prefer the simpler term we have used here, i.e., the prana aura. For the prana aura does show the state of the health of the individual radiating it, and it also really contains physical power and magnetism which may be and is imparted to others. The basic prana aura is practically colorless. It is about the color of the clearest water or a very clear diamond. By the clairvoyant vision, it is seen to be streaked or marked by very minute, bristle-like lines radiating outward from the physical body of the individual, in a manner very like the quills upon the fretful porcupine, as Shakespeare puts it. In the case of excellent physical health, these bristle-like streaks are stiff and brittle-looking, whereas, if the general health of the person be deficient, these bristle-like radiations seem to be tangled, twisted, or curly, and, in some cases, present a drooping appearance, and in extreme cases present the appearance of soft, limp fur. It may interest the student to know that minute particles of this prana aura, or vital magnetism, is sloughed off the body in connection with physical exhalations such as scent, etc., and remain in existence for some time after the person has passed from the place at which they were cast off. In fact, as all occultists know, it is these particles of the prana aura which serve to give vitality to the scent of living creatures, which enables dogs and other animals to trace up the track of the person or animal for a long time after the person has passed. It is not alone the physical odor, which must be very slight, as you will see upon a moment's consideration. It is really the presence of the particles of the prana aura which enables the dog to distinguish the traces of one person among that of thousands of others, and the feat is as much psychical as physical. Another peculiarity of the prana aura is that it is filled with a multitude of extremely minute sparkling particles, resembling tiny electric sparks, which are in constant motion. These sparks, which are visible to persons of only slightly developed psychic power, impart a vibratory motion to the prana aura, which, under certain conditions, is plainly visible to the average person. This vibratory movement is akin to the movement of heated air arising from a hot stove, or from the heated earth on a midsummer day. If the student will close his eyes partially until he peers out from narrowed lids, and then will closely observe some very healthy person sitting in a dim light, he may perceive this undulating, pulsing vibration extending an inch or two from the surface of the body. It requires some little knack to recognize these vibrations, but a little practice will often give one the key, and after the first recognition, the matter becomes easy. Again, in the case of persons of active brains, one may perceive this pulsating prana aura around the head of the person, particularly when he is engaged in concentrated active thought. A little practice will enable almost anyone to perceive faintly the dim outlines of the prana aura around his own fingers and hand, by placing his hand against a black background in a dim light, and then gazing at it with narrowed eyelids, squinting if necessary. Under these circumstances, after a little practice, one will be apt to perceive a tiny outlined aura, or radiation or halo, of pale yellowish light surrounding the hand. By extending the fingers, fan shape, you will perceive that each finger is showing its own little outlined prana aura. The stronger the vital force, the plainer will be the perception of the phenomenon. Often the prana aura in these experiments will appear like the semi-luminous radiance surrounding a candle flame or gas light. Under the best conditions, the radiation will assume an almost phosphorescent appearance. Remember, this is simply a matter of trained ordinary sight, not clairvoyant vision. This prana aura is identical with human magnetism, which is employed in ordinary magnetic healing. It is the outer manifestation of the wonderful pranic force. It is felt when you shake hands, or otherwise come in close physical contact with a strongly magnetic person. On the other hand, it is what the weakly, human, vampire-like persons unconsciously or consciously try to draw off from strong persons, if the latter allow them so to do from want of knowledge of self-protection. Who has not met persons of this kind, who seem to sap one's very life force away from him? Remember, then, that the prana aura is the aura or radiation of life force, or vital power, which is the steam of your living activity, physical and mental. It is the pouring out of the vital steam, which is running your vital machinery. Its presence indicates life, its absence, lifelessness. Summary. The prana aura is the foundational layer of the aura, composed of life force or prana. It reflects physical vitality and health, often seen as a colorless or faintly golden vibration around the body. Key takeaways. Prana is the life energy that sustains all living beings. The prana aura reflects health and vitality, showing strong, straight radiations in healthy individuals. This energy can be perceived by focusing on subtle vibrations near the body. Action items. Observe your vitality by sitting quietly and imagining a soft golden light surrounding your body. Practice perceiving the prana aura by placing your hand against a dark background in dim lighting. Enhance your prana by engaging in breathwork, physical exercise, and rest. Chapter 3. The Astral Colors. The term astral, so frequently employed by all occultists, is difficult to explain or define except to those who have pursued a regular course of study in occult science. For the present consideration, it is enough to say that over and above the ordinary physical sense plane, there is another and more subtle plane, known as the astral plane. Every human being possesses the innate and inherent faculty of sensing the things of this astral plane by means of an extension or enlargement of the powers of the ordinary senses, so to speak. But, in most persons in the present stage of development, these astral senses are lying dormant, and only here and there do we find individuals who are able to sense on the astral plane, although during evolution the entire race will be able to do so, of course. The colors of the human aura, mentioned in the preceding 2 chapters, and which arise from the various mental and emotional states, belong to the phenomena of the astral plane, and hence bear the name of the astral colors. Belonging to the astral plane, and not to the ordinary physical plane, they are perceived only by the senses functioning on the astral plane and are invisible to the ordinary physical plane sight. But, to those who have developed the astral sight or clairvoyance, these colors are as real as are the ordinary colors to the average person, and their phenomena have been as carefully recorded by occult science as have the physical plane colors by physical science. The fact that to the ordinary physical senses they are invisible does not render them any the less real. Remember, in this connection, that to the blind man, our physical colors do not exist, and, for that matter, the ordinary colors do not exist to color-blind persons. The ordinary physical plane person is simply color-blind to the astral colors. That's all. On the astral plane, each shade of mental or emotional state has its corresponding astral color, the latter manifesting when the form appears. It follows then, of course, that when once the occultist has the key to this color correspondence, and thus is able to perceive the astral colors by means of his astral vision, he also is able to read the mental and emotional states of any person within the range of his vision, as easily as you are now reading the printed words of this book. Before proceeding to a consideration of the list of astral colors in the human aura, I wish to call your attention to a slight variation in the case of the prana aura, of which I have spoken in our last chapter. I have stated therein that the prana aura is colorless, like a diamond or clear water. This is true in the average case, but in the case of a person of very strong physical vitality or virility, the prana aura takes on, at times, a faint warm pink tinge, which is really a reflection from the red astral color, of the meaning of which color you shall now learn. Like their physical plane counterparts, all the astral colors are formed from 3 primary colors, namely 1. Red, 2. blue, and 3, yellow. From these 3 primary colors, all other colors are formed. Following the primary colors, we find what are known as the secondary colors, namely 1. Green, derived from a combination of yellow and blue. 2. Orange, formed from a combination of yellow and red. And 3. Purple, formed from a combination of red and blue. Further combinations produce the other colors, as for instance green and purple form olive. Orange and purple form russet. Green and orange form citrine. Black is called an absence of color, while white is really a harmonious blending of all colors, strange as this may appear to one who has not studied the subject. The blending of the primary colors in varied proportions produce what is known as the hues of color. Adding white to the hues, we obtain tints, while mixing black produces shades. Strictly speaking, black and white are known as neutral colors. Now for the meaning of the astral colors, that is, the explanation of the mental or emotional state represented by each. I ask that the student familiarize himself with the meaning of the primary colors and their combinations. A clear understanding of the key to the astral colors is often an aid in the development of astral sight. Key to the astral colors. Ready. Red represents the physical phase of mentality. It stands for that part of the mental activities which are concerned with physical life. It is manifested by the vitality of the body, and in other hues, tints, and shades, is manifested by passions, anger, physical cravings, etc. I shall describe the various forms of red manifestation a little later. Blue. Blue represents the religious or spiritual phase of mentality. It stands for that part of the mental activities which are concerned with high ideals, altruism, devotion, reverence, veneration, etc. It is manifested in its various hues, tints, and shades by all forms of religious feeling and emotion, high and low, as we shall see as we proceed. Yellow. Yellow represents the intellectual phase of mentality. It stands for that part of the mental activities which are concerned with reasoning, analysis, judgment, logical processes, induction, deduction, synthesis, etc. In its various hues, tints, and shades, it is manifested by the various forms of intellectual activity, high and low, as we shall see as we proceed. White. White stands for what occultists know as pure spirit, which is a very different thing from the religious emotion of spirituality, and which really is the essence of the all that really is. Pure spirit is the positive pole of being. We shall see the part played by it in the astral colors as we proceed. Black. Black stands for the negative pole of being, the very negation of pure spirit, and opposing it in every way. We shall see the part played by it in the astral colors as we proceed. The various combinations of the 3 astral primary colors are formed in connection with black and white, as well as by the blending of the 3 themselves. These combinations, of course, result from the shades of mental and emotional activity manifested by the individuality, of which they are the reflection and the key. The combinations and blending of the astral colors, however, are numberless and present an almost infinite variety. Not only is the blending caused by the mixing of the colors themselves in connection with black and white, but in many cases the body of one color is found to be streaked, striped, dotted, or clouded by other colors. At times there is perceived the mixture of 2 antagonistic color streams fighting against each other before blending. Again, we see the effect of one color neutralizing another. In some cases, great black clouds obscure the bright colors beneath, and then darken the fierce glow of color, just as is often witnessed in the case of a physical conflagration. Again, we find great flashes of bright yellow or red flaring across the field of the aura, showing agitation or the conflict of intellect and passion. The average student who has not developed the astral vision, is inclined to imagine that the astral colors in the human aura present the appearance of an egg-shaped rainbow, or spectrum, or something of that sort. But this is a great mistake. In the first place, the astral colors are seldom at rest, for all mental and emotional activity is the result of vibration, change, and rhythmic motion. Consequently, the colors of the aura present a kaleidoscopic appearance, of constant change of color, shape, and grouping. A great electrical display, so to speak, constantly shifting, changing, and blending. Great tongues of flame-like emanations project themselves beyond the border of the aura, under strong feeling or excitement, and great vibratory whirls and swirls are manifested. The sight is most fascinating, although somewhat terrifying at first. Nature is wise in bestowing the gift of astral vision only gradually and by almost imperceptible stages of advance. There are many unpleasant as well as pleasant sights on the astral plane. Chapter 4. The Astral Colors, continued. Remembering, always, the significance of the three primary colors on the astral plane, let us consider the meaning of the combinations, shades, hues, and tints of these colors. The red group. In this group of astral colors seen in the human aura, we find strongly in evidence the clear, bright red shade, similar to that of fresh, pure arterial blood as it leaves the heart, filled with pure material freshly oxygenated. This shade, in the aura, indicates health, life force, vigor, virility, etc., in pure and untainted form. The aura of a healthy, strong child shows this shade of color very plainly and strongly. Strong, pure, natural emotions, such as friendship, love of companionship, love of physical exercise, healthy, clean sports, etc., are manifested by a clear, clean shade of red. When these feelings become tainted with selfishness, low motives, etc., the shade grows darker and duller. Love of low companionship, unclean sports, or selfish games, etc., produce an unpleasant, muddy red shade. A shade of red, very near to crimson, is the astral color of love, but the tint and shade varies greatly according to the nature of this form of emotional feeling. A very high form of love, which seeks the good of the loved one rather than the satisfaction of oneself, manifests as a beautiful rose tint, one of the most pleasing of the astral tints, by the way. Descending in the scale, we find the crimson shade becoming darker and duller until we descend to the plane of impure, sensual, coarse passion, which is manifested by an ugly, dull, muddy crimson of a repulsive appearance, suggesting blood mixed with dirty earth or barnyard soil. A peculiar series of red shades are those manifesting anger in its various forms, from the vivid scarlet flashes of anger color, arising from what may be called righteous indignation, down the scale to the ugly flashes of deep, dull red, betokening rage and uncontrolled passion. The red of anger generally shows itself in flashes, or great leaping flames, often accompanied by a black background, in the case of malicious hate, or by a dirty greenish background when the rage arises from jealousy or envy. The color of avarice is a very ugly combination of dull, dark red and a dirty, ugly green. If persons could see their own astral colors accompanying these undesirable mental states, the sight would perhaps so disgust them with such states as to work a cure. At any rate, they are most disgusting and repulsive to the occultist who beholds them in the human aura, and he often wonders why they do not sicken the person manifesting them. They often do just this thing, to tell the truth. The yellow group. In this group of astral colors seen in the human aura, we find as many varieties as we do in the red group. Yellow, denoting intellect, has many degrees of shade and tint, and many degrees of clearness. An interesting shade in this group is that of orange, which represents different forms of pride of intellect, intellectual ambition, love of mastery by will, etc. The greater degree of red in the astral orange color, the greater the connection with the physical or animal nature. Pride and love of power over others has much red in its astral color, while love of intellectual mastery has much less red in its composition. Pure intellectual attainment and the love of the same is manifested by a beautiful, clear golden yellow. Great teachers often have this so strongly in evidence that at times their students have glimpses of a golden halo around the head of the teacher. Teachers of great spirituality have this nimbus of golden yellow, with a border of beautiful blue tint, strongly in evidence. The paintings of the great spiritual teachers of the race usually have this radiance pictured as a halo, showing a recognition of the phenomenon on the part of the great artists. Hoffmann's celebrated painting of the Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane shows this nimbus so accurately depicted that the occultist is convinced that this artist must have actually witnessed a similar scene in the astral light. So true to the astral facts are its details. The images of the Buddha also show this radiance. The rich golden shades of intellectual yellow are comparatively rare, a sickly lemon color being the only indication of intellectual power, and found in the aura of the great run of persons. To the sight of the occultist, employing his power of astral vision, a crowd of persons will manifest here and there, at widely separated points, the bright golden yellow of the true intellect, appearing like scattered lighted candles among a multitude of faintly burning matches. The green group. This is a peculiar group, consisting, as of course it does, of various combinations of blues and yellows, tinted and shaded by white or black. Even skilled occultists find it very difficult to account for the fact of certain green shades arising from the spiritual blue and the intellectual yellow. This is one of the most obscure points in the whole subject of the astral colors, and none but the most advanced occultists are able to explain the why in some instances. To those who are fond of analysis of this kind, I will drop the following hint, which may help them out in the matter, viz. The key is found in the fact that green lies in the center of the astral spectrum and is a balance between the two extremes, and is also influenced by these two extremes in a startling manner. A certain restful green denotes love of nature, out-of-door life, travel in the country, etc., and also, slightly differing in tint, the love of home scenes, etc. Again, a clear, beautiful lighter tint of green indicates what may be called sympathy, altruistic emotion, charity, etc. Again, illustrating variety in this group of astral colors, another shade of green shows intellectual tolerance of the views of others. Growing duller, this indicates tact, diplomacy, ability to handle human nature, and descending another degree or so, blends into insincerity, shiftiness, untruth, etc. There is an ugly slate-colored green indicating low, tricky deceit. This is a very common shade in the colors of the average aura, I am sorry to say. Finally, a particularly ugly, muddy, murky green indicates jealousy and kindred feelings, envious malice, etc. The blue group. This interesting group of astral colors represents the varying forms and degrees of religious emotion, spirituality, etc. The highest form of spiritual, religious feeling and thought is represented by a beautiful, rich, clear violet tint, while the lower and more gross phases of religious emotion and thought are represented by the darker and duller hues, tints, and shades until a deep dark indigo is reached, so dark that it can scarcely be distinguished from a bluish black. This latter color, as might be expected, indicates a low superstitious form of religion, scarcely worthy of the latter name. Religion, we must remember, has its low places as well as its heights. Its garden grows the rarest flowers, and at the same time, the vilest weeds. High spiritual feelings, true spiritual unfoldment, is indicated by a wonderfully clear light blue, of an unusual tint, something akin to the clear light blue of the sky on a cool autumn afternoon, just before sunset. Even when we witness an approach to this color in nature, we are inspired by an uplifting feeling as if we were in the presence of higher things. So true is the intuition regarding these things. Morality, of a high degree, is indicated by a series of beautiful shades of blue, always of a clear, inspiring tint. Religious feeling ruled by fear is indicated by a shade of bluish gray. Purple denotes a love of form and ceremony, particularly those connected with religious offices or regal grandeur of a solemn kind. Purple, naturally, was chosen as the royal color in the olden days. The brown group. The brown group of astral colors represents desire for gain and accumulation, ranging from the clear brown of industrious accumulation to the murky, dull browns of miserliness, greed, and avarice. There is a great range in this group of brown shades, as may be imagined. The gray group. The group of grays represents a negative group of thought and emotions. Gray represents fear, depression, lack of courage, negativity, etc. This is an undesirable and unpleasant group. Black. Black, in the astral colors, stands for hatred, malice, revenge, and devilishness generally. It shades the brighter colors into their lower aspects and robs them of their beauty. It stands for hate, also for gloom, depression, pessimism, etc. White. White is the astral color of pure spirit, as we have seen, and its presence raises the degree of the other colors and renders them clearer. In fact, the perception of the highest degree of being known to the most advanced occultist is manifested to the highest adepts and masters in the form of the Great White Light, which transcends any light ever witnessed by the sight of man on either physical or astral plane, for it belongs to a plane higher than either, and is absolute, rather than a relative, white. The presence of white among the astral colors of the human aura betokens a high degree of spiritual attainment and unfoldment, and when seen permeating the entire aura, it is one of the signs of the master, the token of adeptship. Summary. The aura's colors are shaped by mental and emotional states, with specific hues reflecting specific vibrations. Red represents physical vitality, blue symbolizes spirituality, and yellow indicates intellect. Key takeaways. Red. Passion, vitality, anger, or sensuality, depending on its shade. Blue. Spirituality and devotion. Yellow. Intellectual activity and clarity. Action. Items. Meditate on your emotional state and visualize the corresponding colors. Keep a journal tracking shifts in mood and what colors you intuitively associate with them. Study how your surroundings, like the colors in your home, affect your emotions.
To continue listening, step deeper into the wisdom at Next Level Soul TV, where sacred teachings, spiritual cinema, transformative courses, and divine stories await your soul's unfolding. Enter the portal at www.nextlevelsoul.tv and let your spirit remember what it already knows. Awaken, expand, and evolve.